So now let's talk about ND filters. What do they do? Well, basically they're like sunglasses for the front of your lens. They allow you, when there's a lot of illumination, typically outdoors, to cut down the level of exposure. Say you're shooting with a prime lens, you want to be at an f2, but it's super bright outside. You've already reduced the ISO down to 160. You don't want to bump the shutter speed way up because you don't want everything to look all jumpy. So the only way to get to f2 without being overexposed is with an ND filter. This particular one I've got is a 46mm, it's kind of a weird stack. It's a 46mm Tiffin that screws right onto my 20mm prime lens here. Then I've got this step-up ring that goes 46mm to 58mm. Then I've got a 58mm ND9. So I've got and the 46mm is a 6, so I've got a 6 and a 9, and then I've got this like lens hood on here too that lets me knock down flares and stuff like that from hitting my lens. And with that, I basically get about 5 stops knocking down the exposure. So that easily lets me, in most cases outdoors, go to whatever f-stop I want. For example, here I am outdoors just with the lens as is. I'm at the lowest possible ISO, and still, because it's so bright outside, I'm forced to go to an f16, so everything's in sharp focus. If I pop on my ND filters, it looks more like this, and now I can go down to a 1.8 and get that nice shallow depth of field. So either one of these looks is potentially appropriate. It's just a question of which one you really want to go with. So that just gives you that extra flexibility if you really want the shallow depth of field look to get the exposure down to the level where it needs to be in order to use those apertures. Without this, you're basically stuck, especially if you have a really fast lens. You might find that you need to go up to f11 or even f16 just to get the right exposure, and then everything's sharp and in focus, and you're kind of like, kind of losing out on the whole point of having this kind of camera in the first place. So this is a screw-in one. You can use matte boxes. There's a lot of different options out there, but basically the idea is this is a way to kind of optically knock down the amount of illumination coming into your lens to allow you to select the creative exposure you want to get the shot you're after.